What if I told you that one project destroyed the Las Vegas millions grew up loving? $9.2 billion? That's how much billionaires gambled on a glass fortress they believed would reinvent the Strip forever. Instead, they built a monument to corporate arrogance. The cheap thrills vanished. The friendly service disappeared. That feeling that Vegas was made for regular people? Gone the moment this mega complex opened its doors. Today, we're exposing the brutal truth about how one catastrophic gamble proved that billionaire money doesn't make Vegas better. It just breaks everything that made the Strip legendary. Number 10. The most expensive private project in U.S. history. City Center wasn't just big. It was a financial gamble so massive that no normal business would ever attempt it. When MGM announced this project back in 2004, executives promised something revolutionary: a city within a city. 67 acres of glass towers, luxury condos, high-end retail, and a flagship casino that would redefine the Strip forever. The price tag? An almost unimaginable $9.2 billion. To put that in perspective, City Center cost more than the entire Hoover Dam adjusted for inflation. More than 50 million labor hours went into building it. At its peak, nearly 10,000 construction workers swarmed the site around the clock, costing $3.5 million every single day just in labor. MGM's then president Jim Murren called it the best developable opportunity in Las Vegas, maybe the planet. The board was convinced this bet would pay off. After all, Vegas was booming, money was flowing, high rollers from around the world were lining up. But here's what nobody wanted to admit. Building at this scale wasn't visionary, it was reckless. No single project had ever concentrated this much financial risk in one location. And when things started going wrong, there was no way to course correct. The dominoes were already tipping. But the real trouble started when the budget exploded. Number 9. Cost overruns that spiraled out of control. If the original vision was ambitious, the budget was pure fantasy. When MGM first pitched City Center, they floated a number around $4 billion, reasonable for a mega project. Aggressive, but doable. But almost immediately, that figure started climbing. By 2006, it had ballooned to $7 billion. By 2007, $7.8 billion. And by 2008, the final construction budget had exploded past $9 billion. That's more than double the original estimate. In just 4 years, what happened? Part of it was design creep. Executives kept adding features, a monorail system, more residential towers, upgraded finishes. Every enhancement pushed the number higher. But the bigger culprit was timing. Construction material costs were skyrocketing. Labor was in short supply, and MGM was competing with half a dozen other mega projects, all fighting for the same contractors. The Las Vegas Sun tracked every budget revision like a countdown to disaster. $4 billion became $5 billion, $5 billion became $7 billion, $7 billion became $9 billion. Each quarterly report brought worse news. And here's the cruel irony. Even as costs exploded, MGM kept assuring investors everything was under control. They talked about condo pre-sales covering the gap. They talked about Dubai World's partnership injecting fresh capital. But behind closed doors, the numbers told a different story. City Center wasn't just over budget. It was hemorrhaging cash with no clear path to profitability. But the design flaws would make the cost overruns look tame. Number 8. A design so confusing even locals avoided it. City Center was supposed to feel like stepping into the future. Instead, visitors felt like they'd stepped into a maze with no exit signs. The complex was designed by a dream team of world-famous architects, names like Caesar Pelli, Norman Foster, and Daniel Libeskind. On paper, it sounded impressive. In practice, it created a disjointed cluster of glass towers that refused to connect in any intuitive way. Architecture critic Alan Hess described the main entrance as having all the pleasantness of an airport terminal. He wasn't wrong. Visitors faced concrete ramps, overhead bridges, narrow walkways, and entrances that seemed deliberately hidden from the Strip. Las Vegas architect Joel Bergman called the pedestrian access cold and uninviting. Unlike classic Vegas resorts that pull you in with spectacle, City Center pushed you away. There was no volcano, no dancing fountains, no obvious reason to wander inside. The complex sat back from Las Vegas Boulevard, isolated behind a wall of driveways designed for cars, not people. Locals noticed immediately. Foot traffic lagged far behind expectations. Tourists walked right past, drawn instead to properties that actually wanted their attention. One urban planner put it bluntly, most people aren't willing to walk more than 200 feet to get where they want to go. If you don't grab their attention, they'll find another watering hole. City Center grabbed nothing. But inside those towers was the failure no one could ignore. Number 7. Luxury rooms, with no market to fill them. Billionaires built City Center assuming the high rollers would come flooding in. They didn't. The Aria alone opened with over 4,000 rooms. Add Vidara, the Mandarin Oriental, and the condo towers. And City Center dumped thousands of luxury units onto the market all at once. The assumption was simple. Build it big, build it beautiful, and wealthy travelers will pay premium rates to fill every bed. But the timing couldn't have been worse. By the time City Center opened in December 2009, the economy was in free fall. Unemployment in Las Vegas had tripled, tourism was collapsing, and the high rollers MGM was banking on, they were tightening their wallets like everyone else. Even visitors who came weren't spending the way MGM projected. One Aria executive later admitted that guests were pulling back, skipping the extra cocktail, avoiding the club, trimming their budgets even while still showing up. Occupancy rates lagged. Revenue projections crumbled. In 2010, MGM's share of City Center posted a loss of $250 million. The flagship property that was supposed to print money was bleeding it instead. And the problem wasn't just economic headwinds. City Center had misjudged its audience entirely. Vegas had always thrived by making everyone feel like a winner. City Center made regular tourists feel like they didn't belong. But nothing exposed City Center's failure more brutally than the next disaster. Number 6, the Harmon Tower disaster. If City Center needed a symbol of its arrogance, the Harmon delivered it perfectly. A 49-story luxury hotel that had to be demolished before a single guest ever checked in. The Harmon was supposed to be the crown jewel. Designed by legendary architect Norman Foster, it would house 400 boutique hotel rooms and over 200 high-end condos. It was meant to anchor the entire City Center experience. Then inspectors found the flaws. In 2008, with construction already at 22 stories, engineers discovered that steel reinforcement bars in the first 15 floors had been installed incorrectly. The concrete columns were compromised. The structural integrity was shot. Further analysis revealed the building could collapse in a major earthquake. MGM tried to salvage it. They cut the design from 49 floors to 28. They canceled all the condos. Buyers got refunds, but the problems ran too deep. By 2011, independent engineers concluded the Harmon was beyond repair. Years of lawsuits followed. MGM battled the general contractor. Subcontractors pointed fingers at designers. 3 million pieces of evidence piled up in court filings. Finally, in 2014, demolition began. Because the Harmon sat too close to other City Center buildings, they couldn't implode it. Instead, workers dismantled it floor by floor over more than a year. The cost? $11.5 million just to tear down a building that cost hundreds of millions to build. The Harmon never welcomed a guest. It just stood there, wrapped in advertisements, mocking the entire project. But even that disaster paled compared to what the collapsing economy was about to reveal. And if this breakdown is opening your eyes, hit subscribe for more truth about what's really happening in Sin City. Number 5, a recession that exposed every weak point. When the Great Recession hit, City Center instantly showed how fragile Vegas's billionaire-driven vision really was. Construction had started in 2006, right at the peak of the housing bubble. By 2008, that bubble had burst violently. Las Vegas became ground zero for America's financial collapse. Home values cratered. Unemployment exploded. Tourism spending dried up almost overnight. MGM found itself trapped. They had billions committed to a project that suddenly made no sense in the new economy. Their stock price collapsed from nearly $100 per share in 2007 to under $2 by March 2009. Analysts openly speculated the company might file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. City Center's joint venture partner, Dubai World, sued MGM over cost overruns and threatened to pull out entirely. Banks that had promised financing hesitated. At one point, MGM had to cover $35 million of Dubai's share just to keep construction moving. The company was, by multiple accounts, days away from shutting down the entire project. CEO Jim Murren later admitted he was preparing for the worst while hoping for a last-minute rescue. That rescue barely came. A frantic deal with 8 international banks provided just enough cash to finish construction. City Center opened in December 2009, right into the teeth of a 13% unemployment rate in Las Vegas. The city was broken. The timing was catastrophic. And once the doors finally opened, visitors discovered something even more unsettling. Number 4. Empty walkways and silent retail spaces. Walk through City Center in its early years, and you'd swear someone forgot to invite the guests. The shops at Crystals, the complex 500,000 square foot luxury mall, was designed to dazzle. Daniel Libeskind created a jagged, crystalline exterior. David Rockwell built interiors with soaring ceilings and a 70-foot wooden tree house. The tenant list read like a billionaire's wish list: Louis Vuitton, Prada, Gucci, Tiffany. But the customers never showed up in the numbers MGM projected. Crystals opened during the recession and struggled for years to find its footing. Foot traffic was described as light by reporters who visited. Stores sat empty. Retailers delayed openings or dropped out entirely. Some high-end tenants closed within a few years of launching. Management insisted the business model wasn't based on foot traffic. They claimed it was about quality of customers who could afford $100,000 handbags. But that spin couldn't hide the eerie quiet inside a mall built for crowds. One TripAdvisor reviewer called it creepy because the place was always more or less deserted. Another described it as the biggest waste of money I've ever seen. Forum after forum echoed the same sentiment: beautiful architecture, nobody shopping. By 2016, MGM sold Crystals for $1.1 billion, recouping a fraction of what the overall project cost. But the real shift was happening behind the scenes, in who controlled Vegas itself. The entire Strip was changing. Number 3, corporate ownership took over the Strip. City Center didn't just change the skyline, it changed who controlled Las Vegas. Before the mega resort era, the Strip had personality. Family operators ran legendary properties. Independent owners took risks on wild ideas. Even the mob days, for all their problems, produced casinos with character and hospitality that felt personal. City Center helped end that era. The project required such massive capital that only giant corporations could play at that level. MGM partnered with Dubai World, a government-owned holding company. The financing involved international banks across multiple time zones. No family operation could ever assemble that kind of deal. And once City Center proved that billion-dollar bets were possible, the consolidation accelerated. Today, 2 companies control the majority of Strip casinos. MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment between them operate 17 of the 32 major properties on Las Vegas Boulevard. But even they don't truly own the land anymore. Real estate investment trusts like Visi Properties have bought up the underlying property beneath most Strip resorts. The casinos now pay rent to Wall Street landlords. The old model of operators owning their buildings? Largely extinct. Critics call it real-life monopoly. The competition that once drove innovation has been replaced by corporate efficiency. Shareholders matter more than showmanship. Quarterly earnings trump guest experience. City Center was the turning point. The moment when Vegas stopped being a collection of competing dreamers and became a portfolio managed by spreadsheet. And for visitors who remembered the old days, that shift felt like losing something that could never come back. Number 2, the end of old Vegas hospitality. Ask longtime locals when Vegas stopped being fun, and many will point directly at City Center. The old Strip had a philosophy: make everyone feel like a winner. Cheap buffets, friendly dealers, comped drinks that kept flowing. The casino wanted your money, sure, but they made you feel good about losing it. That was the magic. City Center threw that playbook away. The complex was designed for ultra-luxury from the ground up. Modern architecture that critics called cold and sterile. No themes, no gimmicks, No volcano or pirate ship to pull you off the sidewalk. Just glass towers radiating corporate sophistication. Visitors noticed immediately. Reviews complained about feeling unwelcome. One architecture critic noted that unlike classic Vegas properties, where everyone felt like royalty, City Center made regular tourists feel insignificant. The hospitality wasn't warm, it was transactional. The design choices reinforced the coldness. Pedestrian access that felt hostile. Entrances hidden behind driveways. A layout so confusing that even staff had trouble giving directions. Nothing about City Center said, "Come in and have fun." Everything said, "This wasn't built for you." And that attitude spread. Other properties saw City Center's luxury positioning and followed suit. Resort fees climbed. Table minimums jumped. The cheap thrills that built Vegas started disappearing across the Strip. City Center didn't just fail to capture old Vegas spirit, it actively killed it. The warmth was replaced by efficiency. The fun was replaced by extraction. But the final verdict on City Center is far worse than anyone expected. Number 1. A $9.2 billion symbol of everything wrong with modern Vegas. City Center was supposed to prove that bigger meant better. Instead, it proved the opposite. $9.2 billion. The largest privately funded construction project in American history. And what did it deliver? A structurally flawed tower that had to be demolished. A luxury mall that couldn't attract shoppers. A design so confusing that pedestrians walked right past. And an opening timed perfectly to catch the worst recession in generations. MGM nearly went bankrupt building it. Their stock collapsed 98%. Their partners sued them. Workers died on the construction site. And when the doors finally opened, the complex posted hundreds of millions in losses, while Las Vegas unemployment hit 13%. Years later, MGM sold off pieces of City Center at massive losses. The Crystals Mall went for $1 billion. Aria and Vidara were eventually flipped to Blackstone. By some estimates, the original investors lost $4 billion or more on the project. But the real damage wasn't financial. City Center proved that billionaire-scale ambition doesn't make Vegas better. It just makes it more expensive, less welcoming, and further from everything that made the Strip legendary in the first place. The cheap thrills are gone. The friendly service disappeared. The feeling that Vegas was built for regular people, buried under glass towers designed for shareholders, not guests. City Center didn't save Vegas. It broke the soul of the Strip. What do you think? Was City Center the death blow for old Vegas? Or can the city still find its way back? Drop your thoughts below.